You're tuned in to Grown Folks Production. In mix with the commish, Nate.
And just like that, here we are. Welcome to Press Pass Live, your weekly podcast show for the OMFL. I'm your host, the commish, Nate. Thanks for being in here with me, and welcome to season 109. Let me welcome in only one co-host today, but that's all good. We got the best one. Trey's going to take that as a shot. I was just picking with him. Welcome in Mr. Maniac of the Atlanta Falcons, the commissioner of the Deuce. Mr. Maniac, how you doing today, bud?
I'm doing great. I'm having a little bit of identity crisis. I'm wearing a Cowboys jersey, but secretly rooting for Dwayne here now. But yeah, I'm doing great, man. Excited to get the new season rolling. There's been some pretty sweet-looking games that's winning week one, so interested to talk about that.
I don't know what the deal is right now, but on the regular stream, you're fine, but on the vertical stream, you're not fine. I don't know why. We'll keep an eye on it, see if it cleans itself up. Let's see if we can get over here, see if this does anything. Nope, that didn't fix a thing. Anyway, we'll see if it clears itself up. Discord and YouTube streaming can be a weird thing. Man, let's talk about some games. We're going to do a quick recap. Not many games to talk about as we've only played one full week. We just started week 2 late last night. I'm going to give it to you. What game do you want to talk about first?
I'm going to talk about my first game here. Scrolling down here, we're going to take a look at the Condors and the Chargers. Man, these two guys faced off last season in the championship game, and here they are week 1 facing off against each other again. And it did not disappoint. There was points scored galore in this game. Both guys did not have a defense. The Condors were on fire on offense. They actually outscored the Chargers here on gains on the yards part throughout the game, 461 to 382. Looking at the time of possession in this game, it was totally dominated by the Condors. 26-42 the 13-18. But I'm telling you, the big difference was the big plays, I think, in this game, and then the plays that did show up on defense helped the Chargers here. Looking at the passing yards, that was pretty even, 259 and 273. The Condors actually had a little bit of edge there. Red zone, offensive touchdowns, 5 for the Condors. That is insane. Looking at that, just kind of looking at player stats. So, key thing here: Herbert did not make a mistake at all in this game. He was 12 of 20, 60%, 3 touchdowns. And then Richardson had that one long pick. Probably ended up being the difference in the game. Taylor, he's back. 19 carries, 136 yards, and a touchdown. Akers, though, and he is the bell cow there for the Chargers. 102 yards on 11 carries and a touchdown. Again, like I said, both these offenses were just on fire. Looking at the players on receiving the ball, Fredrickson, he had a spectacular day. 5 catches, 3 of those went for touchdowns, and that's his second-year player from last draft. Colin Fredrickson there for the Chargers. 156 yards, 3 touchdowns. The Condors did not have an answer for him all day long. Defensive-wise, though, you look at the Chargers, again, talking about that one mistake that was made by the Condors. The interception was picked off by Derwin James. That was actually a 68-yard return for a touchdown, so the difference in the game. So it's very vital. You look at when you play these games like this, you got to play mistake-free football in the OMFL. If you go out and you make a bunch of mistakes, 9 out of 10 times you're going to lose that game. So both these guys, though, are extremely well on the sticks, especially on the offensive side. This was a great matchup. This is one of the games that probably should be like in a classic game for the OMFL. If you haven't watched these guys play, definitely be checking them out this season.
The game I want to talk about as I move my camera just a little bit here is not going to feel good for my guy Bill. See you, Bill. See you, Kevin. What's up, Cincy? Good to see you guys in here. This one's not going to feel good as the Washington Commanders fall to the Minnesota Vikings 19-13. New team, new day, new owner for the Minnesota Vikings, and they forced the Washington Commanders into 4 turnovers. Cody Raines, the rookie, 6'5", 243 out of Auburn, picked off 4 times. It's the thing about rookie quarterbacks, man. They're going to turn the ball over. They need development. They rarely are finished products. And you're going to see all kinds of weird stats. The number one weird stat, the poor kid was sacked 3 times, turns the ball over 4 times, but he was 68% completion percentage. So it's just like he's completing the ball either to his team or the other, but man, he's not missing hardly anything. Gadsden Walther, who's been here now for 3 years. It's crazy to see how underdeveloped he's been. He's been a player that was bought over as an import. He kind of got things going pretty decent today. Did not turn the ball over, 60% completion percentage, and leading the Minnesota Vikings to their first victory in quite some time. But it really was the ineptitude of the Washington Commanders offense. And to do that, you got to look at what the defense was able to do. Lewis Sine had 8 tackles on the day. The sack leader was going to be Denzel Pollard, the second year guy out of Oklahoma. He was getting after the rookie. And then the interceptions, right? Cordell Flott out of LSU. He's also a Giants player, so Bill got his Giants player back over there. What am I thinking? Bill's not the Vikings. Sorry, Bill. Anyway, I'm thinking Bill, Vikings, game, Flott. Anyway, doesn't matter. Sign also had 1, and Reed had 1. The story of this game really is going to be the story of the season for the Washington Commanders, and what can Cody Raines do? I had a high number on Cody Raines, but I knew he was not the top tier, right? There was sort of the top guy. I think there was one top tier quarterback. Then there was a few fellows that were like sort of towards the top, and then there was a couple of guys that had like interesting attributes but needed to build. Cody Raines, I think, was going to be one of those guys. And the Washington Commanders fall to the Minnesota Vikings. And we'll talk about both these teams as we start to give our predictions. But Minnesota, man, Fleury showing that it is a new day in Minnesota.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, I'm going to talk about another game that happened here. This one's a little bit on the opposite side of that. You just talked about a defensive game. This game between the Lions and the Dolphins, again, another game that was just impacted immensely by the offensive side of the ball. Both these guys are extremely well. They both have great offensive minds. Both guys have great quarterbacks. Excuse me. I'm getting a little tickle in my throat here.
Time to get out.
We see the Detroit Lions, they are the defending OMFL champions. And so Kyle Grubbs here didn't have the day that we would kind of anticipate him, especially from the last season. He was 11 of 21, only 52%, had an interception. Even see Will Levis getting into the action with a couple of throws in this game. So that's not exactly what you'd be anticipating here. Gordon Hitchens for the Dolphins actually had a little bit better day. Not great, but he had a little bit better day. He had 2 touchdowns and 2 picks. Both guys were sacked. Completion percentage, though, again, it looked like both guys were having a little bit struggle throwing the ball, but where it changes on the offense is you see the rushing. The Detroit Lions were able to get Jameer Gibbs. He's got Gibbs for quarterback, Gibbs for running back. Man, it's like get the GG back there in the backfield for the Lions. So 14 carries, man, for Gibbs, 145 yards, 3 touchdowns. The dude was just unstoppable. Aiken really had a really good game as well for the Dolphins as well, with 12 carries, 76 yards. But anytime your quarterback struggles, you better have a good running game, hopefully, to keep you in the game. And both these guys did have that. Definitely the Lions did, with Gibbs having those 3 touchdowns. The all-world wide receiver for the Lions did not have a very good day. Only 2 catches, 59 yards. So I don't know what changed, but definitely he's struggling a little bit coming out of the gates this season. So we'll see if that changes here in week 2. Defensive, though, both guys, again, when you look at the stats, it looked like both teams were struggling on the defensive side of the ball, but it was not as bad as you would think. But just the big plays kind of hurt both sides, especially the Dolphins giving up the big run plays on that side of the ball. But your leading sacks in the game were from McNeil, defensive tackle. Obviously, we can't use her, the defensive tackle, this season because it was a rule change there, but he had 1.5 sacks there for the Lions. Wagner for the Dolphins, he had a sack. Again, the reigning MVP from OMFL Bowl 108 was all over the field again, 7 tackles. They had an interception. Definitely, this guy is a keeper for the Detroit Lions. I don't know what round he drafted him in, but that's definitely a guy that's going to help propel them into the future, and possibly even the next Madden. Who knows if that's going to be an import for him. But one thing you're not gonna lack, though, when you get these 2 guys matched up against each other, there's going to be no lack of offense. The defense is usually going to be coming at you with all kinds of blitzes. But I'm interested to see what these guys do the rest of the season. We've seen both these guys make deep runs, but I'm really curious, though, to see this kid Grubbs. Look like he struggled here in this game. Is he going to be able to recover and make what we've been used to seeing from him? So It's a new season though, so let's see what happens.
It is a brand new season, and matter of fact, Cincyberg is kind of talking about that right now, and in the chat about how it's probably going to take a couple of these guys just a few weeks to sort of figure it out, and I think we'll probably see that, especially with some of these rookie quarterbacks. Again, rookie quarterbacks can be finicky. You just never know what you're going to see, when you're going to see it, and how you're going to see it. But I think we'll see those guys get it figured out. But that game's just, it's like it was video game numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no
Terrible
doubt
joke.
that was on Madden. So
yeah, look, these guys are both great offensive coaches, and they built some powerhouses that'll continue to do that. I want to talk Texans and Titans as we wrap up our Week 1 preview. Our guy Roger, man, he's been right there. He already played Week 2 late last night, and man, the Condors sort of took it out on him after a tough game in the Condors Week 1. But man, he was right there. It just feels like his team is just a few mistakes away from being able to really turn the corner and be able to compete in the AFC. But Pepper, listen to me. Penguins and his Titans, man, quarterbacks, he moved some out, moved some around, drafted some. He knows how to play great defense, and that's exactly what he did in this game, only giving up 104 rushing yards, which, sounds like a lot, but it really isn't in the OMFL. And 346 passing yards, but a lot of that was in sort of like a comeback attempt. And if you've ever seen Roger played, he also likes to just super air it out. Blase, after moving away from the Giants, the Saints, he's over in Houston now, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. But Hendon Hooker in his brand new home, left-handed Hooker, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, but only 44% completion percentage. You can just see right there immediately, Trey does different things with quarterbacks, man. He can do something pretty spectacular. Looks like the rookie got in, or no, I'm sorry, Nick Samuels is a second-year player by now. He got in for 1 or 2 plays, but that was about it. Weaver, pretty good game for the Tennessee Titans with 89 yards rushing. And then looking at that defense again, where I think Penguins will continue to shine. He knows how to build really dynamic, powerful defenses. Max Jacobs, the rookie middle linebacker, all over the place. 4 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 1 sack on the day. The sack leader for their team was Ricky Barber, the second-year player left in, and then 3 interceptions, 1 from Jimmy Hughes, the new cornerback for him, Marshawn Lattimore, who now has just as many interceptions that he had all last season with 1 interception, and then Tre'Davious White getting it done for Houston. So there's a look at week number 1. I think we do have some OMFL news, but I want to take a look at what we're looking for in the upcoming weeks. Now, we're going to go week 2, 3, and 4 because that's probably the games that will be played before we get back. And we're going to have to maneuver a little bit here. So I will take week 2 and 4 since Trey had to dish out on us, and I'll give it over to our guy Maniac for week number 3. Bills and Mounties. Listen, you got to give it to Tim. Played him in week 1, and he fought. He's got to get the interceptions underhanded, but if he can, he's got quite the team. I don't know what to think of Big Hurt just yet. We've seen him sort of be all over the place. I want to see Big Hurt get younger. He had to get younger. He's kind of all over the place with the age of his team, but he's got to get a little bit more consistent. Cardinals, Dolphins, boy, that's going to be a defensive coach who knows how to put up big points, but plays tremendously good defense against an offensive coach in Miami and Massimo that can just score on just about anybody. The one that's going on right now that some of you are probably going back and forth on, Seahawks and Lions. Meek versus Trey. I mean, this is an NFC championship preview game between these two teams, man. I'd love to even try to do a live look in on that one. That is just going to be a classic game. And then the last one I want to talk about is me and you. Week number 2, Atlanta Falcons. They trade for what I think is arguably top 3 quarterback in this entire league in Parker Colt. He was I'm pretty sure I got this right, drafted by Atlanta, taken with him to Indianapolis, and then traded back to Atlanta. I had an offer after him. I got turned down. The Atlanta Falcons then go off to build a team around Parker Colt and win a bunch of games. My team has been spiraling. Now we've got 2 teams who've had 3 seasons to build, both of them starting to figure things out. 2 rivals here, 2 guys who played each other a ton. That should just be a really, really fun game between both of us. Panthers-Bengals also, low-key, going to be a ton of fun. Denbrew versus Bird. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch that game and see how that one comes out. Taking a look at week number 3, I'm giving it to you.
All right. The first game this week, right off the bat, Jaguars, Texans. Again, talking about Roger, I watched a little bit of Roger's game last night. He was right there, like at halftime, within 3 points, and then it just kind of the wheels fell off for him there in the second half, and just got behind, couldn't get back. But Roger's he's starting to get things figured out a little bit, and I think we're going to see an improved Texans team this season. Pepper, he's back, I guess. There's no bill going on, so this game should be a good one between two very good owners that have both had their struggles in certain areas of the ball. So I think this is just going to be a really entertaining game. And then we got the Mounties versus the New England Patriots. Again, kind of another undercard teams here, but both guys have improved. Loss has really built that team and started building pieces around that, and that's a great team to kind of look at. If you're struggling building a team, check out how the Patriots have kind of built through the draft and different things. On paper, he's really starting to amass a really good team. I know he's kind of struggled, but that team he's putting together is really nice. I don't want to talk about every game, but it's kind of hard. I mean, there's so many different ones. I could spend all day on this, but another one, just the next one down, Buccaneers, the Vikings. Mike Fleury just coming in from the Deuce, getting the Vikings. He's already made his statement there with the Vikings. Kev, he's back. The Bucs are back from last season. Struggled. Now we're going to see these two guys clash. It should be a good one. Should be a fun one. And it's kind of both sides. I think the Vikings kind of have a little bit better defense as they do the offense, and then the Bucs have a really good offense as compared to their defense. It's solid, but not quite as good. So it should be a good matchup between those two guys. Skipping down, the Lions, Jets, Trey versus Kobe. What's more to say? These two guys are top-notch players in this league. Anytime these two guys match up, it's got to be a must-watch game in the OMFL.
Real quick, before you move on, Seattle, just an update from Kevin. Seattle's up 21-3 in the third and just got an interception. This is what happens when you win a bowl game around here. You got to play the Meeks. You got to play the Condors. You got to play the big hitters coming out of the gate here. And Trey, he's going to figure it out. Trey's got it under control. But, man, he's playing some big top dogs.
I just want to insert here. Trey did say something about the Giant, so that target is on the Giant now.
Hey,
so.
You're everybody's Super Bowl whenever you win it.
Another good matchup, I think, here in this week is the Panthers-Seahawks. We're talking about Meek. Bird, obviously, he's had a really good stretch here. I don't know if he's I know he lost that first week. And see if he can get things going again. But on paper, these two guys should match up really well. It should be a good game. Seahawks, they love the deep ball with Metcalf. Man, he's always looking for that big play with Metcalf. And the Panthers have been a big play team, but a lot of his big plays actually come off of the run play because he's really at just throwing the ball. But once you get that running game going for him, he's almost unstoppable with that play action pass off of that. So it should be a good game. Looking at a battle here of possible OMFL Bowl preview. Dwayne Denbrew. We've picked these two guys to face off in the OMFL Bowl game probably at least 9 times out of the last 10 times probably. Somebody's picked them to be represented in the bowl game. They've struggled. Let's see what happens. So this should be a good game. Both guys have been really good on offense. Dwayne's really been good with that quarterback. His name just left me, but man, once he got him from the Bears, he's just been a difference maker for the Cowboys there. But the Bengals, he's He's looking to get the ball down the field. He's a big play guy as well. Dwayne's a little bit more, I'm going to beat you to death with the run game and then hit you over the top. But these two guys match up really well. It should be a great matchup. And that's it for this week. I'm going to cut it off from there, but cut it short, sweet.
Let's take a look at week number 4 before we get over to Denbrew and some OMFL news. We're going to talk about them, the Packers. I'm not going to I don't know if this is a game to watch for, but the Packers are like a large unknown. But that second game here, Bengals and Jets, you got Denbrew, who has been right there on the cusp, but not able to get over the hump this cycle, against Kobe and his Jets, who's been like almost to the AFC Championship every season, even with a team that maybe isn't as highly rated as some of the others. That is going to be a really fun game. You and me, we get to play 2 times in 3 weeks. That's not going to be fun. Those
Crazy.
games are so important when they're divisional games, and when you play early and you're trying to figure your team out, you're trying to figure out your style and get your momentum going, and to have those games almost count for 2 early on, just it sort of stinks early on. Ravens and Desperados / Browns, they've been moved to San Antonio. They're playing Nipples and the Ravens. We're going to learn very early on in this one, is Mr. Miguel plugged in with his Ravens? Does Little Koch finally put it all together and really start being that dominant force that we think that he can be in the AFC? Well, both of them are going to have a lot to prove in this one right here. Giants and Condors, I still believe that Colin had one of the greatest drafts we've maybe ever seen 2 drafts ago. He's got multiple quarterbacks on his roster. I'm interested to see who's the starter by the time we get to week 4, because he's got some options there to sort of play around with. Condors, they've sort of hit and missed, right? Week 1, he sort of lays an egg. Week 2, he sort of flexes on Roger and the Texans, but where's he at by the time we get to week 4? What do the injuries start to look like? What does the confidence start to look like for that one? Trey's murders row continues. He gets to play the Cowboys in week number 4, and how do you not want to watch that game? Cardinals and Seahawks. Oh my goodness, another potential NFC championship game. Cardinals have been right there, having really solid seasons. Then they get in the playoffs and they sort of don't perform up to their ability. Seahawks, I feel like he is out for revenge on the NFC. He wants to get into a bowl game. I think just as bad as maybe Bronco Man and Trey and some of these other guys that over the years we've seen just like want it badly. I think that the Seahawks are one of those teams that just really wants it badly. And that's a look at week number 5. Let's turn it over to Mr. Denbrew and some OMFL news, which is, oh, that's why I hit the wrong button. Yeah, there we go. Let's bring it over to Mr. Denbrew. Denbrew, take it away.
Welcome back to the OMFL news. We are in season 109, and week 2 is underway. Since the last time you heard from me, we wrapped up season 108, got through some retirements, some free agency, and then we had our draft. So yeah, Aaron Rodgers called it quits, went ahead and retired after 438 seasons. Aaron Donald retired after his explosive year in Arizona. And then I think we lost maybe two offensive linemen to retirement in Dallas, maybe just one. I think it was Tyron Smith retired. I don't know. Just kind of going off the seat of my pants today. Let's talk about free agency a little bit, right? The well-traveled Yannick Blase heads over to Superstar, by the way. Yannick Blase, for everybody that likes to worry about the devs. Heads over to the Texans. Dallas Goedert, X-Factor. He is now in San Antonio, formerly known as the Cleveland Browns. Christian McCaffrey, now on his 3rd team in the OMFL. He is over to the Steelers in Pittsburgh. And David Njoku left Cleveland, decided not to go to San Antonio, and he took his talents to South Beach. Then we had our draft, and just a couple of things I noticed when I was checking out Neon Sports and our rookies. We had 86 rookies on rosters right now that are hidden dev, and 9 teams have at least 4 rookies with hidden dev. So all kinds of hidden devs out there for everybody to salivate over. That'll take care of segment 1. See you here shortly for segment 2. See you.
My guy Denver sounds like he's like stuck in a closet somewhere having to do these things. I like when he's like he feels like me sometimes. I don't know. I think what I said is correct. I'm not 100% sure about it. All right, let's do some playoff predictions. It looks like, at least when I'm getting the updates, things are not going well for our buddy Trey. Maybe he should have been here on Press Pass Live and let that game wait just a little bit. Let's start with the NFC. We're just going to roll through these, you and I, and talk about anything you want to talk about. We're going to give our division winners of each division in the NFC and the AFC. Then we'll give our predictions of who we think is going to be in the bowl game. Let's start with the NFC West. You got the Cardinals at 1-0, 49ers at 1-0, Seahawks at 1-0, Rams at 0-1. Can you name a more competitive, hard division than this one? I'll wait. You can't. This one's going to be tough, man. There's some really good owners in this one, but we pick it every year, rinse and repeat. Give me the 49ers to win this division. I will say, though, Seahawks are out for revenge, and the Cardinals better be one you keep an eye on. Look for our guy Shiloh Bad, though, to start to build some things there with I'm all over the place with the Rams. It's LA, though. Just LA, Nate. Just say it. The LA Rams. I think he's going to get some wins. He's going to shock some people. It's just going to take him a little bit to get some things figured out. He was not here in week 1, but he will be here in week number 2. What do you think about the NFC West?
I'm to the point where I'm just going to start calling them the California Rams, the California Chargers, because that's where they all abide. So, this division, man, this is crazy. I do think the Seahawks are going to hold an edge. Now, you never know about D-Money. Sometimes I swear he's like a cat that just kind of plays with his food a little bit, makes everybody think like, oh, D-Money's struggling. And then you go and play, have a D-Wayne versus D-Money, and all of a sudden D-Money just comes out and just whips the snot out of him, But the first week, though, he and the Packers played a really close game, actually. I mean, I was kind of surprised, but I was like, is this D-Money kind of like, playing with the food a little bit, giving guys hope? I don't know, but I'm telling you what, though, if the Seahawks come out and they sound like they're dominating the Lions right now, you got to start raising your eyebrows a little bit, going, things might be changing in the West, just a tad. And the Cardinals, they're no slouch either, man. But when you get 51 points on a CPU, that you have to that's just a downer.
Not a good
bit.
look in the
We
OMFL.
can't really give you props on that one, but
yeah, we don't do that here. We don't do that here. We got to be better than that.
But he's still got a good team there, and I think he's going to be competitive. But I really think it's going to come down. This is going to be a 2-man race here between the Seahawks and the 49ers. Give me the Seahawks, because I just think he is out for blood. I think he's painted that's saying on his wall, put some respect on my name this season, because he's just coming out of the closet, man.
Well, I don't know if he's coming out of the closet. That's his business. We'll find out. Cowboys and D. Wayne started the season 1-0. Commanders 0-1. Giants 0-1. Eagles 0-1. Those bottom 3 teams are a little all over the place, and I do think by the time we look in week 7, 8, 9, these teams will be completely different, and probably even more different when we get to 15, 16, 17, 18, right, as we continue to go there. But this is all about the Dallas Cowboys until someone else there can prove something to me that they can step up and win this division.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I got disrupted.
Yeah, I was like, I can't tell if that was it. That was all of his things, or
no. The Cowboys, man, they've been at the top of this for a long time, and and like you said, just these guys that are 0-1 underneath, you don't know what you're going to get. Was it, it's a week one fluke? I do think the Giants are improved. How he gets that turned around, though, is going to remain to be seen this season. The Eagles, I really think he's a better player than his record has showed this whole Madden. He's been a really tough. Anytime I've played him, has been real tough, and he's played and called a solid game. The Commanders, I think your best bet in this division right here, I think, is the Commanders are going to be the team to push the Cowboys a little bit. But can he get the rookie quarterback thing figured out? I think he's one of those guys, and just to kind of insert here, Denver's deal with the hidden devs. Oh my goodness, I didn't realize there's that many. But the Commanders actually got 2 back-to-back in that last draft, and I believe both of them are going to be really high hidden devs. So these 2 guys, the running back and the quarterback, I think are going to be centerpieces for this team. And I think if Bill can get things figured out with those, he's really going to push maybe possibly Dwayne for this. But I think this is going to be another team. The Cowboys are going to be an out to prove it type of deal this season. And so give me the Cowboys here.
I hate talking about our division, but what do you think's happening here in the NFC South? I'm making you go first on this one.
Man, I kind of hate talking about my own division, my team and stuff. I am happy with my build for my team. I really feel like that has been one thing I have improved overall. Even though I've lost some guys, I really like right at the cap space. I have really no wiggle room whatsoever, but I feel like I've done a really good job with my roster for what I've had to work with. I do think, though, the Buccaneers are going to be the key in this division. And I think you look at the Panthers, he's the defending champion here, but the Bucs struggled last season, but he's come out of the gate, really had a significant offensive output that week one. I think it comes down to what type of season these 2 guys have. Depends on how things are shaped out in our division. I do think we're all going to be very competitive. I think it's not going to be the weak division that we've seen so far in the first couple of seasons in Madden. I think everybody is going to be vying for a playoff spot, possibly, and maybe not. It may not be. I don't think everybody's going to make it, but I think there's going to be possibly 3 guys, 4 guys, possibly there playing for a playoff spot, wild card spots and stuff. So. To call it, though, I've got to give it to the Bucs. I just think with what I've seen from his offensive output, he's just dynamic with that quarterback and those wide receivers that he has. It's just hard to contain players like and even though his record was bad last season, he put up offensive numbers anyway.
He did.
So
I mean, he had 2 top 5 wide receivers, both made the Pro Bowl, top 3 quarterbacks. So even with a terrible season, he was putting up numbers like crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. So give me the Bucs from this standpoint. I think the Panthers are going to be right on his heels, and I think our 2 teams, I think we're going to be really improved. I know I made the playoffs last season. I had a kind of up and down. Started off really slow, started kind of gaining some traction towards the end of the season, and then hit a little bit of a speed bump at the end there. But I just see the Bucs being the team that's going to come out of this division as the division leader.
Me and my Saints in this one. Our guy Maniac and the Falcons, Kevin and the Bucs, Bird and the Panthers. I don't know where. I think the biggest thing in this whole division is confidence from the owners. And talking to Bird after week 1, he went up against a buzzsaw in D. Wayne, and his confidence is probably the lowest I've ever seen it for whatever reason. That switch back to all pro kind of switched something in him, and he just feels like he can't compete on all pro. Kevin is the hardest guy on himself. He is just so down on himself. When things go bad, it can tend to unravel just a little bit. You and your Falcons, 1 minute Parker Colt's gone, the next minute he's signing extensions. You're shipping out the tight end. You're not shipping out the tight end. Grady Jarrett's old. He goes and balls out for the Falcons. Like, you're all over the place. And Laura knows, if you watch some of my streams, I'm just the biggest titty baby ever. And so it's the confidence thing for this division. I do think Falcons and Bucks have full potential to win this division. They have the talent. They have the coaching. I'm just going to pick with my head instead of my heart and say the Carolina Panthers and Bird are going to win this division again. I think he will get things figured out. He will get on a bit of a roll, but look for the Falcons and the Buccaneers both to push him just a little bit. NFC North, you got our guy Fleury and the Vikings, Trey and the Lions. Give me an update in chat. Last I heard it was 28-3 in the fourth, so it might be over by now. Our guy Priest and the Packers, and then Tim and the Mounties. After hearing what happened today live while we were having Press Pass Live, I don't know who to pick. I will say Fleury's got more to show to me, though, than a one hot shot start where you only put up 19 points. I don't care if Trey is off to a rough start this season. You're going to have to put up more than 19 points to beat Trey. I think because of that, I'm going to pick the Lions. Mounties, not just quite there. They're going to be on the cusp. He's going to have to turn down the interceptions. Packers did catch my eye. He played that week 1 game much closer than I thought he would be. He's been a bit more engaged since sort of calling him out lately. Can he sort of get things rolling? But this is all going to be about Trey. He's built such a dynasty, such a powerhouse. Can't call him a dynasty. He's only won one championship this cycle. But on paper, a dynamic, tough team that almost anybody is going to have a hard time matching up with. 28-9, the Lions are down to the Seahawks. I don't know what the time is left in that game. What do you see happening here in the North?
Well, it's definitely going to be, excuse me, definitely going to be an interesting one for sure. Fleury's coming over, and he's actually played in the Deuce, and he's played quite well in the Deuce. He's built really solid teams over there, and he's been one of the top players in this Madden. And so I think if anybody comes in to give Trey a run for his money, it's going to be Fleury. What he can do though on offense is going to be the deciding factor if he's really going to push the Lions for this division title. I really in my heart I'm thinking Trey may have just ran up against a bad couple of games. He'll get things figured out.
I just heard a report that Grubbs tore his abdomen, and we know that Hendon Hooker is no longer in Detroit, so might be a bit of a quarterback situation now on top of what is already a championship caliber because you did win the championship schedule.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough swing. So if that's the case, that could swing some things here. Does he go out and make a trade? I think there's actually quite a few quarterbacks in free agency that are unsigned that could be signed. But I think, too, though, one thing we look at, Bill has been one of the top defensive guys in this league. And so the Vikings coming in, playing him the first week and only putting up 19 points. We've seen Bill hold Kobe to 3 in a playoff game. So I think if he gets that offense going, look for Fleury to really push. I think this is going to be neck and neck down the wire between the Vikings and the Lions. I want to say give it to the Lions, but I think with this injury and stuff, I think it's going to get in Trey's head. So give me the big upset here, and I'm going with the Vikings to be.
You heard it right here in week 2. The Lions seasons are over. Down has the king fallen. AFC West, you've got Black Cats and the Chargers. You got our guy Shocks and the Chiefs, J-Bows and the Raiders. and then his buddy Jay Glaze and the Broncos. AFC West, the division that always just seems weird. I don't know how to say it. All Chargers. I mean, maybe Shocks gives us something to talk about, but he started out the season 0-1. Broncos and Ravens, Raiders. Raiders 2 seasons ago had that outstanding season. He gets deep into the playoffs and then follows it up with just a bit of an egg the next season. So starts out this season only putting up 16 points and an 0-1 start. The Broncos, I think it goes back to the quarterback and just no big playability over there. Chiefs, they're the only ones that could give the Chargers a run for his money, but the Chargers just in the OMFL Bowl follows up week number 1 with a big victory, 41-38. I think this is all him.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you here. Looking at this division, I know I played the Raiders the first week. His quarterback struggled. He was having some lag issues too. I completely understand that 100%. So I can understand how that can affect the game. But his quarterback was struggling. His offensive line was giving up quite a bit of pressure. I didn't have a lot of sacks. I think it was like 2.5 sacks or something like that, or 2 sacks. But his offensive line was giving up a lot of pressure. He was kind of under duress quite a bit of the game, so I don't know if that's going to be something that's going to affect him the rest of the season. But the Chiefs, I think, are the best bet to give the Chargers a run for their money. The Broncos, I don't know, man. I mean, he's got a young quarterback, a solid quarterback, but I think he traded away maybe too much of his offensive weapons at one point, and it could have maybe set him back a little bit. Now he's got a bunch of young guys, so I don't know what the full story is there. But we've seen Jay Glaze be really competitive in this league, and he's just kind of struggled this season, or actually this Madden. But look for him maybe to turn things around. Hopefully, maybe this next season. But I think this is a 2-man race here: Chargers, Chiefs. Chiefs, they got to get better on defense. I think their offense is solid. I think they've got a good offensive set, but their defense just seems to be the kind of the weak link, always giving up a lot of points, having to play from behind or play the shootout game. So if he can get his defense figured out a little bit going into the season, maybe he'll give him a run. But, man, those Chargers, he's been so balanced on offense. His rushing attack, Akers, he's turned that running back in with, I think every other team turned him down, kicked him to the curb, and he put him in the lineup, and he's just done a marvelous job with him. But man, you can't go wrong with Byron there. So I'm going with the Chargers as well.
AFC East, you got Big Hurt and the Bills. You got Kobe and the Jets. You got Massimo and the Dolphins. And then my buddy, Mr. Lost Sniper and the Patriots. Tell me why I'm disrespecting the Bills to say the Jets are going to run away with this division.
I don't think he would be because...
well, he did put up 40 points in week 1, so maybe it's a little disrespectful.
It might be, but who was he playing to? So obviously he was playing the Patriots, so because they both gave up the same amount of points and give up the amount of points and put up the amount of points. So anyway, doing the math here, but the Jets, man, they've been at the top this whole time in this division. They've been the top seed. They've been the top team to beat. I just think looking at what his defense has, he by far has probably the best defensive front in this entire league. He's got, I think, 3 or 4 superstar or better defensive linemen. So that's just insane to run against, to try to pass against, because they do get the pass rush, they do get the block sheds, and then his secondary is no slouch, man. When you got Sauce Gardner on one side, and then he's got the other young guy on the other side, I think Converse or something like that. But he and then he uses a lot of times the slot. He's just so tough on to beat on any given day that you play him, and Big Hurt. We've seen him win OMFL Bowls as well, but I think his team right now may be lacking a little bit. So it depends on what he does. And at the trade deadline, if he makes any moves, if he can make any moves, I don't know what he's got. But just give me the Jets, man, because by far Kobe, he has just had an outstanding Madden so far. I know he's kind of struggling in the playoffs a little bit, but man, in the regular season, he's been by far a regular season champ, man, because he is just he's put up numbers, and he just knows how to play, man.
It's a consistency thing there for me with the Bills. The Dolphins, if they could just figure out how to get 2 or 3 more stops per game, he would be almost untouchable with that offense. I mean, the guy, when he plays me, he plays with so much confidence. It's like, how's this guy not winning, bowl games here? I don't understand it. He's so good. And then lost with that team. Feels like he's quietly building a powerhouse, but maybe real life, it kind of gets in the way. He just is a really busy dude. I agree with you, though, how that one's going to play out. You got Penguins and the Titans in the AFC South. You got Pepper and the Jaguars. You got the one-time Madden 24 champion Condors, who just had a big victory against the Texans last night, and Mr. Bronco Man, and then Roger and the Texans at 0-2. This one is a bit all over the place when it comes to like Texans and Jags, and like how much does life allow them to actually be plugged in and play? Do the Titans start to rebuild a roster that was left pretty bare? Do the Condors continue to build? He plays with a little bit of a lack of confidence, but he started to build that confidence last night. This is a tougher division to call, but I'm going to have to stick with the guy who's been winning it and who shockingly had I don't say shockingly like in the negative sense, just like I didn't realize how great of a season his quarterback had last year. He had an outstanding season, and he's playing at a very high level right now. I like the Condors, but this one's really wide open.
Yeah, and speaking of the quarterback, I think if I looked at his stats correctly, I think he's already got 7 touchdowns to 1 interception on the season. So he's kind of picked up on that stat where he left off. The Jaguars with Pepper, if he gets hot, man, he can throw together 4 or 5 wins easy.
100%.
But man, and when he gets down on himself, or if he's not, man, he can lose 10 in a row. It's just you don't know what Pepper you're gonna get. Which Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde Pepper you
sounds
get,
like a lot of us, if I'm honest.
Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, I'm that way as well. But looking at the Condors, if he can continue doing what he's done with Richardson, he's going to be a tough out there, that number 1 spot. But we've got a guy in with since he called him the flightless bird, I think, and with Penguins, he's a very good owner, man. He seems to just put together really great teams, has really great offensive and defensive game plans. I think he's going to definitely give the Condors a run for their money this season. I think you're going to see this race actually be one that's going to be pretty entertaining between these two teams. I do think the Texans are going to improve. I don't know if he's going to improve to push for a playoff spot, but if you give it to me right now, though, I got to go with the Condors. But look for those Titans, man. They're going to make a run. They're going to make a push, and it's going to be a good one to watch. So just keep your eye on this one.
Last one before we give our bowl predictions. You got Denver and the Bengals, Little Koch and the Desperados, Nipples and the Ravens, Mr. Cincyberg. God, I don't know why I drew a blank there for a second. I wanted to say Penguins, but I'm like, Penguins hasn't been in Pittsburgh in years. But Cincyberg and the Pittsburgh Steelers. We said name a more competitive division when we were talking about the AFC West a while ago. I think the AFC North could give a good run for that. These guys could all play ball. Like, there's not one of these dudes that if you were to give me a prediction opportunity that I wouldn't say if they stayed here long enough would not win a bowl. Like, these are champion. They've either won championships or they will win championships. These are championship caliber teams. And I think it's wide open, but I'm going to go with the Bengals. And I'm going to tie that in a little later about as to why, but I think this is going to be a ton of fun to watch. I think it's going to be a blast to see how they kind of beat each other up, how they grow throughout the season. Look for the Steelers to continue to grow as they figure out exactly how their game needs to adjust with All-Pro. Nipples, we've always said this about him, but as long as he's around and plugged in, and I really like this Desperados team. I don't like them because I have to play every single one of these teams this season, I think. I'm pretty sure I'm right about that. So I'm not excited about playing the Desperados, but man, he's built a really fun team. And what a cool logo and colors anyway. But I like the Bengals to win this division.
Yeah, this I think we were talking about the NFC West with D-Money, and that was pretty competitive. But I think across the board, 100%, this probably is the most competitive because you don't really know what you're getting with Shiloh maybe there, but we know what you're getting with the Ravens here with Nips. So this division, it could go. I mean, seriously, like you could flip a coin. I think whatever it lands on, or it could happen. Like the Ravens could win it, the Steelers could win it, the Bengals, the Desperados. I do like the team that the Desperados have put together, though. Man, he's stacked some drafts together the last couple of drafts, and man, he's got some players. He's got some playmakers. He's got some X factors. No pun intended with Madden's X factors. The Bengals also, they've got a dynamic offense. It looked like he only allowed up 10 points in that first game of the season, so his defense has obviously kind of stepped up. Last season, his defense was his weak point. He just seemed like he was in a shootout every week. But I'm going to go against the green. Denbrew, don't hurt me. I'm going to go with your buddy, though. Your old compadre, the Desperados. Every time I see the name now, I think about that old show, Desperados. But I think, I don't know. I'm going with my heart here. I think he's going to kind of shock us all. I just think his weapons, unless he has some kind of injury bug that happens and takes care of him in the middle of the season. But I'm going with the Desperados to shock us and take the AFC North crown.
It's going to be a ton of fun. So let's give our bold predictions. I'm going with two old faithfuls. I think that they both sort of quote unquote, very loose quotes, so loose they could be a left-handed hooker. I think I'm going Denbrew and the Cincinnati Bengals against Dwayne and the Dallas Cowboys. I think just two guys who've been right there, almost there. I think this is the season that they both get there, but I also will not be shocked if a lot of these teams go on the run. Atlanta Falcons, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Desperados, the Steelers, like there are Massimo. We've seen him get hot and go on runs. Like Pepper and the Jaguars. Like there are so many teams that could go on a run. Nothing would be surprising me, but I'm gonna stick with my old faithful. Who was it? Wasn't it Berkman that picked the Bills to be in the Super Bowl like 20 years in a row or something? Like every single predictions.
The Bills and the 49ers, like every time they ask him, like he just thought this is going to
be my Bills 49ers pick from Berkman, right? I'm picking the Cincinnati Bengals and Denver against Dwayne and the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, in light of that, I'm going back. I'm going to go with the Jets for the AFC. Give me the Jets. He's not really like an old faithful, but he is kind of one of the faithfuls there in the AFC. I think I don't know if he puts it all together like he has in the past. He's going to be a hard out there, and And so give me the Jets. And on the NFC side, I don't want to say it, but and I'm not going to say it. Sorry, D-Money. Give me the Cowboys because D-Wayne, I'm rooting for the Cowboys. Romo fan here from time past, so give me the Cowboys Jets. I think that would be a great game. It would be a rematch of Super Bowl 90 something, I think, so, or OMFL Bowl 90. But anyway, those two guys I think really match up well, and I think it'd be a really, really entertaining game to watch. So give me the Cowboys Jets.
We have a billion questions to unpack from the mailbag. I don't know if we can get to all of these because there's some pretty long ones in here, but we'll get to as many as we can. But before we do, let's turn it over to Mr. Denbrew for the OMFL News number 2.
Welcome back. Segment 2, OMFL News. Let's talk a little bit about some of these other opportunities that we got going on in the OMFL. Besides just playing your games every week, we've got the gold sheet. Go in there. You basically, we set some lines, make a wager. Got to play against the point spread. Pretty self-explanatory on the gold sheet. We got the pick'em game. Basically, you pick a team. They win. You keep going. They lose. I think you're allowed two losses in the pick'em game, and then you're out. And then we have fantasy football, pretty self-explanatory. Fantasy football, a couple quarterbacks, few running backs, few receivers, tight ends, and then put your roster in. And at the end of the year, if you finish in the top, what is it, 2, 3 of the fantasy football? I think it's top 2. Maybe it's no. Fantasy football is just the top. And then if you're terrible, then you also get a little bump. So you got some opportunities for some XP or some development stuff in there. What else we got going on? We got some early juicy week 2 matchups. I was taking a look at the schedule as I'm talking with a pen in my mouth. Jacksonville and Commanders matchup. A couple of old rivals meeting up early in the season. That ought to be a good one to watch. Saints and Falcons should be a good one. Both teams off to that hot 1-0 start. They know each other very well, so that should be a good one. And then Seattle and Detroit both at 1-0, and we get half of the core 4 going at it early on here in week 2. And then Titans and the newly San Antonio Desperados both 1-0. Should be a good one. Real quick, Booze and Brews. The Brews, you got to give it up to Byron and Trey for the OMFL Bowl back in season 108. Nice work, fellas. And then another brew, the OMFL Draft Show. I thought it was one of the best ones we've had in a long time. It was really good. Nate, Maniac, Trey, Nipples all chimed in. Thought it was funny. Thought it was entertaining. Thought it was insightful. So great job to the 4 of those guys on the OMFL Draft Show. I don't really have a boo other than I thought it was pretty lame that these guys show up to the NFL Combine and they don't even work out. It's like, why the hell show up? Stay your ass at home. That's all I got. Segment 2, the wrap. See ya.
Denbrew's the best. They show up to interview. That's why they show up, Denbrew. They show up to interview because they're going to get to talk to a lot of teams. I sort of don't blame them. I get why fans, we feel like it's lame, but for some of those guys, there's no win in the situation. It's all bad. There's no good. No one's going to go, oh yeah, I knew he could throw it deep. No, like they're going to go, ooh, he missed those 3 throws. Ooh, he dropped those balls. Ooh, he slipped. Like, there's nothing good that can happen for some of these top picks, especially the quarterbacks, which I feel like most of those comments are aimed towards. Anyway, why am I getting off on the NFL rant? Anyway, it doesn't matter. Denbrew's the best. I love him so much. And yeah, you guys are my dudes. All right, let's get over here. Let's open up this mailbag. Let's have a conversation. There's so many things. Way too early OMFL Bowl predictions. Bronco Man, we already gave ours, and so I can't take that question. Sorry, because we've technically already, that was part of the thing we had here. What teams, the Bronco Man says, do you think had the best offseason and draft and the more questionable side of the coin? So who did really great, who didn't do so hot? Oof, I feel like I sort of gave out some grades early on. I look, I think the Mounties did really well for themselves. I think the Packers did not do well for themselves. There's two guys in the same division. I don't know what the Packers' plan was this offseason. Hey, let's dump absolutely everybody off of a bad team and refill it with no one. But that's sort of where he finds himself. And I think that the Mounties had a pretty good offseason. But you got to talk about the Titans, and he's rebuilt a complete roster there. It's going to take him some time, especially with young players to get going. The Washington Commanders, I know he kind of hit a bit of a speed bump. And the Giants and Colin, I think he also had a really solid draft. I feel like there's a team or two that we really, really liked that I'm just really drawing a blank on because it feels like it was light years ago after we had the draft. But what do you think? Who had the best offseason and who also maybe kind of struggled?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the free agency, who picked up some of the guys, and I'm kind of drawing a blank, so I'm kind of going based off of the draft here. I believe the Commanders really had a solid draft. I'd probably go like 1A, 1B with the Condors. I think the Condors also had like four hidden dev guys. I do believe the Commanders, if Neon Sports, if you look at it, it shows like the abilities already. I think both his top two players that he picked are either going to be superstar or X Factor. So that's going to be really great for him going forward. So I'd have to give those two guys the best. Questionable side, I would probably, one of them I would probably question would be the Bills. We've seen the Bills give up a draft pick last season for CMC, then he lets him walk. And so he lost that draft pick, and some of the picks that I saw him make weren't really great. So I'd kind of probably give him a questionable side of the offseason. I don't know what he picked up in.
There's been a bit of a theme the last couple of seasons. Bad deals and head-scratching teams have been tied to CMC. Like the Chiefs giving up the bag to get him. And it was just like, what are you doing, brother? Like, and now we've seen the 49ers have built up Pacheco to be a young, cheap X Factor. Then he goes over to Buffalo, and then he lets him walk. Like, this guy has not had a great end of his OMFL career here.
Yeah, he's kind of caused a little bit of a stir. And unfortunately, with the Bills, the thing that worked out for the 49ers, one, they got really top draft pick for him, and then not draft pick, but they switched over with Pacheco, and then they got some draft capital. And then he played really well with the Chiefs. Then they trade him over to the Bills, and so he got some draft capital. But the Bills didn't get nothing. I mean, they weren't able to keep him signed. So it was just a kind of a 1-year rent for that's pretty steep rent. And so you see him then moving on to the Steelers in the offseason. I think maybe, that would kind of answer a question too. It's like, I think the Steelers had a pretty decent draft in offseason as well. But I think the Bills probably would be the questionable one. And I really can't think of anybody else right now. So that would probably be my answer there.
Bronco Man, we're going to wait. That's why I put the little clock emoji on your next question. He asked, what are your top 5 offenses and defenses? Too early. Let's let a couple of weeks play out and then give a more accurate description of who we think is going to be. So we'll come back to that one next week. Bill says, which teams, one from each conference, that you think will be a surprise team, good or bad, in season 109? I think one of the biggest surprise teams that you're going to see build could be the Desperados. I've talked a lot about gushing over the team that he's built the last couple of seasons. He's got the X Factor superstar quarterback. He's got several speedy wide receivers. He's got a defense that can make plays. I think for the AFC, a good first impression could be them. And then just because it's happened here live, and boy, I'm glad he ain't here today. I think a big surprise could be the Lions. You got a championship schedule now. You just lost your quarterback for 4 weeks. Things have unraveled early. Now, I do believe that Trey will get it together. Trey will be in the playoffs. But I don't think he's going to have maybe the confidence and the momentum that he had at the end of last season when he was just barrel rolling over everybody.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that was kind of like one of my. I was trying to think. I think if you're looking at, I think the Saints are going to be one team that's going to be a surprise and prove. You've already won your first game of the season. I don't remember your win total for last season, but I know you were kind of far into the season before you getting wins and stuff, and so already you got your quarterback, and I think it's going to be a big plus for you going into the season. So I think it's going to be a good surprise there from the NFC. The AFC, I think the surprise, good or bad. Give me. I'll just go with the Bills again. I think he's going to be a surprise. Is he going to be good or is he going to be bad this season? Because he's kind of made some questionable decisions. I know he won his first game, but how is that going to portray through the rest of the season when you start building up injuries? Is he going to have capital to make moves, or does he have the salary cap to do anything? So again, I think I'm not going to go bad or good or either on his team, but I think it's just going to be a surprise of what happens with that team because there's a lot of question marks around them.
Tim, which rookies are you looking forward to in season 109? This is why I love Neon Sports. You can just let's see if it comes in focus. I don't think it will come in focus because, oh, there it goes. You can do filters, players, and rookies only. Listen, I think the Texans had such a solid draft, but when the number one guy that's coming off of a lot of people's board is a 6'1" cornerback named Stephen Raymond, he's going to make some plays for Tim. Tim knows how to build a team. He's low-key one of the best GMs that we've had here. He just doesn't have the wins to kind of back that up, but he does know how to build a really, really good team. I think there's several other players that you're going to see. I'm excited to see Melvin Caldwell, the middle linebacker that went to the Desperados. It's going to be hard to try to remember that guy's name. I really do. He had a tough week one, but I really do like Cody Raines, the quarterback for the Washington Commanders. Ben White. Now, sometimes we see defensive ends take off. Sometimes we don't, but Ben White was a guy drafted by the Green Bay Packers, a hidden dev left in. We'll get the words out of our mouths here. He's going over to Green Bay, and he might be able to make some plays. And then Solomon Revis, the cornerback for Detroit. Again, Detroit not having the start to the season that he expected himself to have, but if anybody knows how to develop players, it's going to be Trey. Any rookies that you got your eyes on?
You mentioned him already, Cody Raines. I think really interested to see how his career takes off in the OMFL. Again, like I said, he kind of struggled there that first week. I also think your quarterback, I think, is another one that I'm interested. Not so much that I'm looking forward to him messing up my record or destroying my team, but I think he, from what I saw from week one, I think he fits your style really well, and I think you're going to have some fun with him. And if you're looking at somebody, I think where guys tend to have a lot of fun with rookies is usually receivers.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think there's one guy that, man, I so wanted to get on my team, but I couldn't pull the trigger for him because I really didn't feel like I needed a wide receiver. But, man, almost looking back now, I wish I would have. Cyrene Tacky, or I don't know if it's Tack the second or what that is supposed to be, but anyway, 5 catches, 185 yards, and a touchdown.
The Jaguars,
so he's
right?
a big play guy. So I think that would be another one that would say, hey, be fun to play with. And then, of course, you talked about during the draft show, somebody by the name of D Money picking up that wide receiver that was really fast, Lambert. 8 catches, 130 yards, and a touchdown. So he's already making his presence known for the 49ers. So
why?
Why
do we do this?
That would be my picks.
Why? 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 Why?
I forgot. I changed my settings. I don't think you can hear all that. Can you hear all that now? My soundboard.
Yeah, I heard the why,
okay.
why,
All right,
why,
all right.
why.
Just making sure. I was like, other than that, it just feels like I'm awkwardly just sitting here. Bill says, "What are your early impressions of going back to all pro settings and sliders?" Bill, I think it's a bit of a loaded question because Maniac was like, "We got to do this," and he and I were the only two to test them, so it's hard to not be skewed. And I also openly admit when you're losing and only winning, 5-6 games a season, it's hard to like those settings, right? It doesn't matter if they play flawlessly, you feel like they suck. So I'm skewed, but I do try to feel like I take as unaskewed view of this as I can. And it feels more fluid. I don't think it's perfect, but Maniac's got his eye and he's tweaking a few little things here and there. I think it plays smooth and fun. I think we're 4 seasons deep, right? Starting the 4th season into this Madden cycle. You realize all the flaws that this game has that just the settings and sliders are not going to fix. And, there are just some stupid things that this game just doesn't do well. And so I think it just sort of is what it is. And hindsight being 2020 as it is, when you don't know what this game doesn't do well, you blame the sliders on that early on, or you ignore it early on. And then as you figure them out, you think, oh, it's the sliders, the settings, but actually, no, it's been doing that the whole cycle. You just didn't realize it early on. And so I think that's another sort of looking back thing. But Maniac, any sort of knee-jerk reactions about the sliders and settings, and maybe even give people a quick insight about where your head is about possible adjustments?
Looking at the games and stuff, I feel like if you look at it, one thing that we had problems with before the all-pro settings was everybody was getting all day, all night to throw the ball. There was no pressure, so we switched to the all Madden to get the pressure. Through the digging and the researching, I figured out why we weren't getting any pressure at all. So now, since we went back to all pro, we tested in the test league, quite a few times, and we had teams that had dominant pass rushers were getting good pass rush. Those that didn't, that went up against a really good offensive line, were kind of not getting back there a whole lot unless you blitzed and stuff. And that's kind of portrayed in the NFL as well, and any football sport that you'd play. Something that I've liked that I've saw so far was, and that I experienced in my game was, it wasn't every down that you were facing a barrage of pass rush. Whereas like in the All Pro when we first started, you could sit back in the pocket for 12 seconds and just let everything develop all over the field. So in my game and the ones that I've witnessed so far, you're seeing guys where there's a couple times where they get their offensive line gives them some time. They're able to let deeper routes develop. But then there's other times where they call those and they're getting mad pressure quickly. And so I think that is a good balance if looking at that from that standpoint. I think the one spot that I've saw, the broken tackles, I think are a big thing right now. There's a lot of broken tackles. I think we saw one in your game from Tim with the running back, went 70-something yards. I think he broke like 6, 7, 8 tackles on that run or something like it. It was crazy. And I'm not saying they don't happen, but there's been a kind of a theme in the rest of the games that I've watched. And so the tackle slider, I'm looking at possibly bumping that up a couple. And it may not be for user because what I've found out, the user sliders, a lot of that depends upon what player you're using, and so it gives you those boosts for that slider in that situation from defense. Now, if your CPU sliders are way down, then that causes a lot of craziness to happen with your CPU guys that are trying to make a tackle. And since we don't switch, we got to have those there. So may bump up the CPU slider for the tackles up a couple to help that situation.
It might also help with special teams.
And overall, I've seen good stuff from it.
I know we talked a little bit about special teams, and bumping up that tackle slider might also help with special teams just a little bit. Denbrew said, thanks for taking my call. What attributes do you think are most important for pass rushing defensive end? And I would have to say I have no clue because I don't have one. I have sucked at pass rushing defensive ends this entire cycle. I know last cycle it was finesse moves. I don't find that that's working out as well. This one, I think it's some combination. It's not just speed either, and it's not just strength. And I don't know what the combination is. Do you have any insight about what takes or makes for a great defensive end?
My experience from this last season, the previous season, all I had basically were finesse guys on my team. And that was I guess the second season. Last season was the third. But I drafted a guy that had more strength and more power moves, and Clyde, and he was dominant for me last season. He had 10 sacks, and so I've kind of seen that guys that have the power rush move are a little bit more effective, and I think that's primarily because I think a lot of the offensive line are tweaked or adjusted from whatever Madden did this cycle. They adjusted to where like a lot of the guys have more finesse pass block where that you saw in the past. So I think that then the counter to that is the power move guys. So anyway, that's just my one example. Like I said, because the previous season I think I had like 3 or 4 sacks the whole entire season, and then last season I was like a top 10 in sacks. So the big difference.
Mr. D. Wayne says, which import was your favorite over the years? I remember Tank Forbes for you. He's talking about me really well. Your defensive end Pickney you had years back. Also on other teams going back through the Hall of Fame page, which is a great place to see some of the classic names here. Everyone remembers Crowdus from Brady's Jags team. Middle linebacker that I think was making like $60 million a year in his third cycle of being brought over. A player that played 4 Madden cycles. Can you see a player making 4 cycles again? Thanks, Wayne. Wayne, if there is, it's going to be your tight end who you've bought with you every single year. I could see a potential like stud going. I think guys, the change I've seen over the last 2 cycles, maybe 3, is guys go really cheap and young. They want cheap and young, cheap and young. Give me the cheap, young playmaker to go with my import. Back in those Maddens when I took over Forbes and Pickney, I had a bit more money to play with, and so I'd love to bring a quarterback multiple times, but those contracts get crazy busy. I'd love to see one of these franchise quarterbacks, a Parker Cold, Massimo's guy, Dickerson. His name's No. Dickerson retired. Who's the new guy? Anyway, whoever Massimo's guy is, I can't remember his name. Dickerson was his other quarterback that he had. I could see one of those guys if people are willing to pay them to go. Receivers, I think, are easy to bring over. I don't know if it'll happen because guys like cheap and young. Hitchens, that's it. I could see Hitchens. I could see Ryder going 3 seasons. Kevin just said that. I could see those kind of things possibly happening. But guys want cheap and young, and I think that's what keeps them. My favorite's going to be Tank. Guy played like a tank. I miss. He was so much fun. He just caught everything. You just couldn't guard him. He was unguardable. He's a ton of fun. You don't have any favorites? Do you have favorites? I don't know. I was trying to think of guys that you've brought over time and time again. Who's your favorite import that you've had?
The only guy that I brought over once was McCoy, the quarterback for the Panthers.
That's right. He was really good.
Yeah, he was really good, and I really wanted to bring him over to the next man. But again, it was like you're talking about. Like he was so expensive, and I was going to be switching over to the Vikings, and they didn't have a whole lot of cap space, so I had to make the tough decision to drop him and bring a rookie quarterback that I drafted, Massey, I think at that point. But if I had to look at other teams that I've played that have came over a couple of Maddens, I think probably the thorn in my side when I was in the NFC North was Glenn. He was a cornerback. He played safety. I think even Trey may have had him in linebacker whenever they had the play art that allows you to have the safety in. I mean, he was just.
We played
he
him
was
in
just
New
a
Orleans one
beast.
time. I had a wide open guy in the back of the end zone, and he picked me off a ball that was 10 feet above his head and took it back 99 yards to win that game. And it was just devastating. That dude was a player.
Yeah, I mean, he had so much speed. I think he was like 6'2" or 6'3" as well. I mean, he was huge. He was missing, and he just roam. I'm not saying like he broke the FPR by roaming. I mean, but if his zone was in that area, anywhere in the area, if you were hanging, it was his. So I hated that guy, and I even returned kickoffs with that dude.
Yep.
So. He was just an all-around beast. So that's the one that comes to mind for me.
Kevin, what rookie quarterback do you see making a push for Rookie of the Year? I'm going to name the top 5, and I don't know, but a couple of these are actually starting. So you got Cody Raines with Washington. He's the highest rated. Ethan Hunter's tied for him with the LA Rams. My guy Mark Anthony here in New Orleans. Rick Wheeler, not Wick Weaver, Rick Wheeler with the New York Giants. I don't even know if he's starting. And Ty Robinson for Pittsburgh, Tyler Haynes for Pittsburgh. Neither one of those guys are starting. Chase Dawson with San Francisco not starting. I think a lot of these other guys down below are not starting. These are backup players. Any of those guys that you think could make a push for Rookie of the Year?
Oh, man. Yeah, I think all those guys really got a good shot. I think looking at the we haven't got to witness the Rams guy yet. I think he's going to be a top guy as well. And Shiloh Bed, if you remember, he was playing last season with a quarterback who was like 67 overall, and he was competing. So anyway, I think he's going to be one guy that's going to be in there. But I guess if you had to give me to make a push for, I'm going to throw your guy's name out. I think again you're going to have I think a good shot. You've got good weapons on offense to start. I mean, with your wide receivers, I think you've got one of the top wide receiver cores, especially in the NFC side. May not be the best, but and that's one thing that you need with a young quarterback. You got to have guys that make the catches, and I've seen you guys do that. And you've already come out to a good start with him. So I think he's going to be right there in the talks for that at the end of the season. So,
yeah, I like the top 3 guys: Cody Raines with Washington, Ethan Hunter with the Rams, and then my guy Mark Anthony. We'll see if we can keep the turnovers down. Kevin says, could you see the Vikings making a push to give the Lions something to worry about in the NFC North? We actually talked about that already. I think we both do, right? Especially after the news that broke live as we went through here of Trey now has his starting quarterback injured. It's such a big weapon for him. He will figure it out. Trey is too good of a player development. And I would say, I'm pausing to make sure, probably the best quarterback guru that we've ever seen in the OMFL. I mean, he could take a low-rated quarterback and win with them. I think D. Wayne's another guy that's like right up there with the just quarterback whisperer. He'll get it figured out. But yes, the Vikings are going to give him a hard time, and he's going to make him earn it. And I think could potentially upset the Lions and win that division.
Yeah, and he was my pick to upset Trey. I think. Like you said, I think Trey's going to be fine. He's going to come out of this okay, but he may struggle. I don't know how Levis is. It's definitely going to be a difference because you go from a guy that can scramble all over the field to like a Michael Vick clone to a guy that really can't do much as maybe as effective as that type of guy. So it changes up your style a little bit, and so it can affect you psychologically, in a lot of ways. So, but I think that may be the killer to him repeating as the champion in the North. So that I think that opens up the door really wide for the Vikings to make a move.
Let's see real quick. It looks like Levis, he can move a little bit, so maybe it won't be a massive drop off. 80 speed instead of 86 speed, 85 acceleration instead of 88. He is stronger. He's not nearly as aware, only 71. He does have a big arm at 95 instead of 93 that Grubbs had. And shockingly, this is shocking because I don't follow Levis, but he's got 82 deep, 86 medium, and 84 short accuracies, 83 throwing on the run, 83 throwing under pressure, 78 play action. You know, break sack, not as good as Grubbs, but he sort of is like a dollar store version of Grubbs, and he might be able to make plays for the Lions.
Yeah, the one thing I kind of like wonder though is like how his throwing motion is compared to Grubbs.
Yeah,
I know Grubbs has a very quick out of the hand throwing motion, so a lot of times these guys have a little bit more of a.
I don't know why I'm thinking about this, just because his name's on the screen right now in the chat. I think my guy's got the same as Ryder, and that throwing motion makes a big difference. Like, I like the Parker Colt, like more traditional, but my guy's sort of got like that 3/4 arm throw, and it takes a little getting used to.
Yeah, and because the balls, you know, it's I don't know, it comes out different, it looks different, and it kind of has a little bit, I don't know, like a visual effect on you, like you're not, you know, you're used to it coming over the top, whereas it coming out to the side, but you know, and sometimes that can mess up your timing. With Parker Colt, he's got a pretty good throwing motion. Now I will say, like on the deep ball throws, I get a little aggravated because he's got like winded up, but you know, those type of things like that can make a difference because, you know, if your offensive line is struggling 100%. To give you that extra second, that could be the difference.
So there was a lot of reasons why I couldn't hold on to Blassie, that's one. I just couldn't get the timing of his throw motion when I needed to start the throw, especially like you said on the deep ball, and my offensive line was not good, and so it makes all the difference. Cincyberg, last one, then we got to get out of here. Nate, can you elaborate on a play from your week 1 game? Using linebacker blitzing, and he goes and makes a play on the screen. What situations can we attack the screen when we see it? I see a lot of people play it wrong. If we could only attack when using man on a halfback. Thanks for breaking it down. So, couple of disclaimers, and I'd love to get your input on it. Disclaimer number 1, what I say on my stream. I am human like all of you. I'm competitive. I get caught up and I'm trying to be entertaining. Like, who wants to just stare at a goofy Cajun face that you know, just is playing so I'm trying to be a bit entertaining and make it funny, and I'm also emotional, and like I just react sometimes. Like, I'm trying to just be real and raw, but entertaining. So, number 1, don't listen to almost anything I say on my screen. I should say almost anything on my stream. I have gotten better about what I say and being more like mindful of like, I mean this as a joke and I mean this as sarcasm, but it's not going to come off that way. I just got sick of the DMs of like, oh, my buddies were watching and they said, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, I don't care. Like, stop. I'm just being entertaining, trying to be at least as much as I know how to be. So there's that. The second disclaimer is, as I feel with all FPR, one time should not get you dinged on anything unless it's a game winner or a game changer. If it's a game winner, game changer, whatever happens, ding them. If not, let it go. You should just let it go. You should sing the song from Frozen and just let it go. So Tim did this once. I remember the exact play. I know I reacted because I'm playing, right? I'm just in the emotions of it. I didn't love it, still don't love it. And if anyone else did it, I wouldn't love it. But he only did it once, so I didn't even bring it up to him. And I'm definitely not turning it in because it happened once. So what situations can we attack the screen when we see it? You're playing a zone, you're playing man. The rule, the golden rule here is to run the play that you called. And if you're blitzing, you should blitz. Sorry that you seen the screen and you picked the blitzer. You wouldn't feel bad for me if you picked the blitzer and came after me and got a user burst in speed and a user burst in shed block and you got to sack me. That's why you called a blitz. And that's really why you're using the linebacker to come blitz me, because you know you get those boosts and you'll get to me quicker. So sorry that I burned you and I got a screen on you. So that's how I feel. If you're not playing the zone on that side, if you're not playing a man on that side, if you got the fullback or the tight end on a screen, like, yeah, go attack it. Like, that's fine. You're in the same area. But if you're blitzing, you should go blitz. And if you get burned, you get burned. Sorry. call a better play another guy, whatever. So that's how I feel. And if you did it every screen, I think you should get popped one time in one game. Probably not a big deal. It's not a big deal. So that's just how I feel about it. You should be playing a situation that you should be able to attack the screen, but a screen is supposed to bust you on a blitz. And so you don't get to play the blitz and the screen at the same time. That's not how this works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm feeling that, man. A lot of times, is obviously we can change plays, audible within 5 minutes, and a lot of times guys are not going to call a screen, or at least in most cases. And I say like most guys, but in a lot of instances, screens are going to be like in that 2-minute warning or the hurry up kind of situation. So you're going to have an opportunity. What I've done a lot of time is during that open window where I can make an audible is I'll the man, and I'll make sure I've got that running back that I can cover. There's been a few times that I didn't, and a lot of times what I'll do is I'll control either that defensive end, and since he's already going up the field, I try to disrupt the play as much as possible because I'm going to try to disrupt the blocking, getting out there to the outside and stuff. So that's just kind of the way I've attacked that. Now, saying that I've never made a deal where I've had the linebacker blitzing, I'm not going to say that because I may have done that before, but in most cases, that's the way I attack it. Though I try to make that adjustment if it's within that 5 minutes, or if it's outside of that, I try to control that outside attacker. Again, I'm still rushing up the field to getting to the quarterback, but I'm also disrupting all the blockers getting to their spot as well, which in most cases in the NFL, that's what happens with the defensive end.
Russell Wilson, real life NFL, is going to be released and $85 million in dead cap. Whew, I think that breaks up PR. Maniac, that's going to bring us to the end of our show, man. We did a prediction show under 2 hours. I'm kind of proud of ourselves. So let's give us one final thought. Let's wrap it up with one final thought, and then come back tonight because you're going to see these same. Well, you won't see his face, but we'll be playing each other, and you'll see my face. So come check us out tonight. But one final thought.
Final thought, man. Already excited about the season. A lot of good games. That have happened already. As always, I'm looking. If you got, and this is just a disclaimer, if you have some ideas about the sliders or whatever, I asked for some help, and he volunteered. So, but if you got some feedback or whatever, hey, my DMs are open. Send me a DM, and
are
we
you
can
asking
go
people to slide
stuff,
into your DMs?
My DMs are open.
Are you sure about that?
And be careful. Just saying.
Yeah.
My one final thought is attached to one final question. Do we see Trey ever again? I don't know. He might be ready to burn this place down. Y'all are good. That's not one owner that I would want to be angry. There's a handful of owners that I would not want to play when they are angry, and he is definitely one of them because I think he's going to come back with a vengeance and a little bit of a drop-off at the quarterback, but he's going to figure it out. It's not that big of a drop-off. One final thought is I want to do some more hot seats this year. I want to call some games with Maniac, maybe Trey if he's around. So we're going to try to find some time to do those. I'm going to be honest, by the time I get on at 9:30 Central Time, I'm so burnt out. I'm just done, and we just end up all going to play shooters because I can just turn my head off and don't have to worry about anything except for getting yelled at for not doing what I'm told. But we're gonna find some more games to call. We're gonna find some more opportunities, and hopefully you guys start growing your own channels. Like I see Bronco Man calling his own games, and Cincyberg on video, and Big Hurt on video. So I see those guys doing some things. I did make the decision today though because I begged and it just hasn't happened. We're getting rid of our Twitch. I don't use it. I'm not going back to Twitch. I'm not going to Kick right now. I can't simulcast. I might wait because Twitch, see, I'm thinking, I'm an out loud thinker. That's how I work. Twitch did release a beta program that I signed up for, but I didn't get accepted into, that if they accept me, I would be able to simulcast. So maybe I hold on to it and see if that comes out in the next couple of months. But I'm sick of just seeing that channel just sit there. And the longer it sits there without being used, people start unfollowing and nobody pays attention to it. And so I was really hoping we could get that thing going, and I just cannot simulcast to it. It just won't work. So, but we're simulcasting here in YouTube with the vertical and the regular. So let me know if you want to do a hot seat. We'll get you on to do a hot seat. I think we only did 1 or 2 of those last year. I want to do more of those. We'll find some more games to call, and I've got like 400 graphics to make this week. So I got to make some graphics. Maniac, it's been fun, buddy. Good prediction show. It's been a ton of fun.
Enjoyed it.
And I'm ready to go for week number 2. So good luck to everybody that's out there. I don't know why I got choked up. I think a bug flew in my mouth. I don't know what happened there, but I can hear my wife here. She's cooking. I'm going to go say hello to her and take a breather before church tonight, and before Maniac sticks it to me. And I, never mind, I'm not going to say it. I was going to say all these innuendos that have been said in today's show, but Maniac, be easy on me, okay? I got a rookie quarterback over here.
All right, man.
Let's go.
All right, guys. We'll see you on the next one. See you tonight. Peace.
Deuces.
Smash that like and subscribe.